Good evening. In a dramatic escalation on the high seas, U.S. forces have seized a Russian flag oil tanker after weeks of long pursuit that began near Venezuela. Washington says the action was very necessary to enforce sanctions. Moscow has condemned the move, calling it a violation of international law. This vessel, known as the Marinere, formerly Bella One, was being tracked by the U.S. authorities for weeks. The U.S. Coast Guard and military pursued the ship across the Atlantic after it evaded a U.S. blockade on oil tankers linked to Venezuela. Officials say the ship was under U.S. sanctions for allegedly transporting oil tied to Venezuela, Iran, and other networks circumventing sanctions. A U.S. federal court issues a warrant for its seizure, and forces boarded the tanker in international waters, reportedly near Iceland. The Trump administration says this is part of a broader effort to blockade sanctioned Venezuelan oil exports worldwide. U.S. military leaders called it a key step in stopping illicit oil trade that they claim funds criminal and destabilizing networks. Officials also report this tanker tried to avoid capture by changing its name, repainting its hull, and raising the Russian flag, tactics they describe as attempts to evade enforcement. Russia reacted angrily. The Transport Ministry called the seizure a violation of the 1982 UN Convention on the Law on the Sea, saying force cannot be used against a Russian registered vessel in international waters. Russian officials demanded the United States ensure humane treatment of the crew and allow their prompt return home. They also questioned why the US and NATO military assets were focusing on the tanker, describing the operation as disproportionate. Experts say the incident highlights growing geopolitical friction over energy, sanctions, and influence in Latin America. Venezuela, long under U.S. sanctions, relies on shipping to export oil, and this action further restricts its options. China and other nations have criticized U.S. tanker seizures as violations of international law, raising broader questions about freedom of navigation and maritime jurisdiction. Legal analysts are deeply divided. Supporters argue that ships that falsely flag and evade sanctions can be treated as stateless and thus subject to boarding. Critics say boarding a vessel legitimately registered under another nation, especially Russia, sets a dangerous precedent. Moscow insists the tanker had proper Russian registration and that the United States violated maritime law, even calling the act piracy in some statements. As tensions simmer, the seizure of Marinera could complicate U.S.-Russia relations at a time when cooperation is already fragile. Both countries will likely press their cases diplomatically and legally in the days ahead. Stay tuned for updates, subscribe, and hit the bell. This is World News Update.